G'day, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Lonesome Cowboy Podcast. And I have a very special guest on here, and musician and MP for not Temiskaming, Timmins, James Bay, and this is Charlie Angus. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Much appreciate it. You know, it always makes me shake my head when I see a politician who's a musician or a musician who becomes a politician. And I always thought that musicians I never thought that a musician would make a great politician. I've always thought that we were kind of the antithesis of a politician. Like, how did you manage that transition, Charlie, from like, so you didn't run around just telling people exactly what you thought? Because I know I couldn't be one. They'd kick me out.
I started in punk rock back in the day.
Yeah,
It
I
was
know.
L'Étranger with Andrew Cash, and we were considered one of the very political punk bands in that wave of punk. There was a lot of stuff happening then, like
Hmm.
happening now.
Yeah.
Um, it's a funny story, but I met Jack Layton at a punk club when I was like maybe 19, 20 years old, and Jack was just getting involved in politics, and he had heard that we were like doing a lot of youth organizing, rock against racism, organizing against a massive nuclear escalation that was taking place. And Jack wanted me and Andrew Cash to get involved in party politics. And we were like, "Are you crazy, man? Like us? Like
Yeah,
we're
really.
we're pure, man. We don't do stuff like that." And then many, many years later, both Andrew Cash, who was the front man for L'Étranger, the band, and me ended up in Jack Layton's caucus, which was kind of funny. But you bring real different skills, like you got all these people who are accountants and lawyers and people
Yeah.
who just do politics their whole lives. Okay, I'm not dissing that, but man, if you've got to get in a van with five guys and travel the country and not kill each other and make just a little bit of money and be organized and show up at the show and be ready to play every night, it gives you a different skill set. So I brought that rock and roll skill set of being ready, DIY, do it, just being your own voice. No one's going to do it for you. That's what I learned. That's what we learned the hard way as musicians is that no one's going to come along and say, "You're brilliant. I love you. Here's a lot of money."
Yeah, especially in
That
the
doesn't
21st.
happen. We
Yeah.
think it's going to happen. It just doesn't happen. So you got to do it yourself. It's
Yeah,
DIY. That's
exactly.
that's my approach.
And that's the approach of this podcast too, that we like talking to DIY people. Now, it appears you took to being an MP like a fish to water. Were there times when that attitude of where you wanted to say to somebody, just quit screwing around, and that mentality comes out, or just is that something you have to learn to keep in check and use your politically correct voices, I guess you could say?
Well, my the music career got derailed. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
We were playing heavily. I don't know how many albums we had out. So this was with my band Grievous Angels,
Hmm.
which came out of L'Étranger. And then they were going to turn my region into North America's largest dump, the Adams Mine garbage dump. And I started to get involved in that, and I realized what a scam it was and how dangerous it was. So I started to get involved in that. And the next thing I knew, it took more and more of my life. So we weren't touring, we weren't playing. And there I was, like, at organizing meetings. So I kind of fell into politics.
Hmm.
And people kept saying, "You should run for office." Like, I'm not a politician. So I ran for it. And then there was a while where when you got a political brain on, you're not thinking music at all. And then there were a few key moments where I realized, no, music is part of this. Music is way of reaching people that politics doesn't. So then I began the transformation back to finding balance with music, writing, recording, and now playing a lot more with the Grievous Angels
Yeah.
in Grievous Angels 3.0.
Yeah, right on. And speaking of Grievous Angels, your latest album, Last Call for Cinderella. Tell me about that album and what are we going to expect on that?
The Last Call for Cinderella is sort of a bookend to two albums that we recorded. The first one was called Summer Before the Storm, which ironically came out just on the eve of COVID, which was the real storm.
Yeah, really.
And Last Call for Cinderella It's the band I think is at our best. We went in everything you hear is recorded live off the floor. We had for the recording. We're now a six piece because one of our singers, Janet, went home to Liverpool. But
Uh,
a lot of the themes in it are about these dark times, this uncertainty, this dystopian, like what's real, what's not, like what the heck's going on around us. Like we came out of COVID, we came out of this storm, and we couldn't make sense of the world around us. So, Last Call for Cinderella, it's got a lot of different feels on it, like um, Very Grievous Angel, like, but the lyrics I think are trying to make sense of what the frick happened. How are we
mm,
going to get through this? So it's been getting great reviews,
yes.
and the band is certainly at I think our best on our live show right now.
Yeah. Well, Canadian Beats said it was a politically charged album, and I really enjoyed Barcelona, I'll Be Free. I was just listening to that before we came on here, and that takes on women's issues with working and harassment and the whole deal kind of stuff. What other kind of politics are you going to bring to light with this album in particular?
Well, we got a song, "The Litany of the Saints," which was actually written by Jason Collette,
Oh yeah.
indie king many years ago, and he forgot he wrote it. Um, I called him and said, "Hey, do you remember that song?" He goes, "No, I don't remember." And I said, "Well, I rewrote all the words. I hope you don't mind, but we'll give you credit." But Litany of the Saints, it's this. Jason had this song he'd written a long time ago. This whole sort of Catholic thing where the traditions you call down Saint Francis, Saint so and so. And
Yeah.
then I thought, well, man, we're in some rough times. We need some saints. So we're calling down Joe Hill, the labor organizer. We're calling Saint Joe Strummer. We're calling Joan of Arc to get organized in the streets and sort of bringing a political edge, and it's definitely the funkiest thing the band's ever done.
That's cool.
So that's something. There's songs on it I think that are just about couples trying to figure out love and life in times of of disinformation. There's a song called "This Is How the City Falls,"
Yeah, I was
which
listening to that one too.
and it's I think people can take from it what they want, but the city doesn't fall from the outside, it falls from inside, and we let our city fall. And whether it's
Hmm.
the city as an actual city or it's our society or democracy, it's a warning. Like we gotta protect what we've got and build on it and not let it be torn apart by anger and rage and disinformation. So this is
Hmm.
how the city falls was the first single off the record.
Yeah, and it's very poignant in that respect. Speaking of changes and falling from the inside, of course, November 5th, we were all treated to something we were used to having before. And you being in the federal government, not that I want to go political with this thing, but I just can't believe that that happened. Is our federal government really concerned about what's going on down south below the 49th?
I think everybody is. I don't know if Parliament gets just how dis frightened people are because we're talking about democracy. We're talking about how did that guy, convicted sexual predator crook, uh, get in charge of the the rich, the most powerful country on the planet, and are we ready for that? And I've been really thinking about. I got a new book called Dangerous Memory that just came out because I'm
Hmm.
also writing a
Yeah.
lot, and it's like we got to Trump proof our lives. Nobody's coming to save us. We got to start rebuilding communities, rebuilding, getting involved, talking to people. I think COVID made us all afraid of each other and we all lived in our silos. That's how these creeps win.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of breakdown. And one of those, get back to music, is like the loss of live music. Places that we used to play that were full of people on a Friday night. I don't know how many communities that we used to play where there's no place to play anymore except, well, maybe on a Tuesday night you can do a duo, or maybe they're going to do karaoke once a
Yeah.
month,
Yeah.
but like this live music to me was always a powerful way of bringing people together, and a lot of those places are being threatened right now. People don't go out anymore. There's so many changes to the laws, and that's made it hard, but we got to protect live music.
Yeah. Well, we've my wife, having been born in the United States, but she's been in Canada for more than half her life and is a citizen. Um, uh, we had to cut some ties because they're all red on that side of the family, And
Yeah, and it's sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
how did our politics get that? Like, man, we vote for different parties and we don't talk to each other. We become enemies.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that that's becoming more common in Canada. That was never the Canadian way before. And one of the reasons I really want to go back to music more is music still a way that we can get people to just drop their guard for a little bit and just see each other and act goofy and dance and sing
Hmm.
along. So
Yeah.
music
Well
is a way of
said.
bringing people together. Politics has become really, really dangerously toxic.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, you mentioned something in regards to playing and going to those venues and just not having it the way it was. Um, in regards to the pandemic, I mean, we were all excited. Okay, it's coming back. That's it. We can get back at it again. And basically, they didn't come back. Places are
Yeah.
closing. What happened? Why did we not come back?
Um, I think I think people are still gun shy. I thought
Hmm.
everybody would just like the nightmares over, the party's on, let's go.
Yeah.
But people were gun shy. I think a lot of the live music places took serious hits. I've talked with my friend Nicholas Jennings, who's a Toronto music historian, about how the like the Toronto music scene that I started out in, it was a petri dish of incredible culture because it was opportunities to play everywhere, and you didn't have to be very good, but people went out. But when you don't have that and you have less places, then people don't want to go out. And it's Friday night, well, and so everybody's on Netflix. That makes us more isolated and more afraid. So one of the things the Grievous Angels are doing more and more, like we still play night shows, but we're offering people matinees. Come out Sunday afternoon, be home for bed by 5 o'clock. We won't, and we've been packing the place because people are like, okay, well, I'll go out in the afternoon, maybe.
Yeah.
But we got to be more creative and we got to find ways to get people to come back out and enjoy things.
Yeah. Have you guys had to adjust your live shows? I mean, I have had to start thinking about not just playing songs, but various ways to entertain, enjoy. I mean, I even add cowboy poetry to some of the stuff that I do just to try to get something in there kind of thing. Has the Grievous Angels thought about their live show and how they make it stand out?
Well, all the members of the Angels play in a number of bands, and so Alex Bell, our keyboard singer, Turner, her man Nathan, they're in theater, so they do a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. For the Angels, if we're going to play, it's going to be a full-on show, and it's going to be a kick-ass show. It's like we're going to put on a big show, so we don't play as much because we have to have the right venue. Although sometimes what we do is we'll just go into a small town and play the Legion just to practice. But we're going to play what we want. And
Yeah,
so
right.
I always love those shows because they don't know who the heck we are. And we're doing our own music, our original songs. We're just doing our set. And people are like, wow, who are you guys? And for us, it's like, give me $50 and three beer tickets, and I'll do that. It's a great practice, but the focus is trying to play bigger venues and really put on a show. But yeah, people are having to do all kinds of things. And maybe it'll make us more creative. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. And I'm sure the music business has changed 40 years ago when you all got involved in that kind of stuff. And what kind of changes to the band's career have you had to make to function in a 21st century music business?
Well, again, it used to be we could tour by playing from Monday to Saturday nights.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. But the shows that we do play pay a lot better than we ever got before. So if we're going to do a big show in Toronto or Ottawa, we're charging more than what was possible before. I think one of the hard things is, I mean, royalties have just disintegrated
Mm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and and one of the areas where we don't talk about it a lot, but CBC back in the 90s, they broke Canadian bands nationally and internationally. They played the local CBC radio shows played a lot of local music. And I don't know, maybe I'm just cynical or maybe I'm totally wrong, but I feel like a lot of the music they play, they're ticking some kind of box in some kind of bureaucrat's office. But before, like Peter Zowski, the Morningside show,
Yeah.
we gave him a tape. He played us, and we went from being basically playing small punk bars and street busking to playing national festivals
Nice.
because we were heard and people called us. Man, that doesn't happen anymore. And we got royalties regularly. Man, my royalties are so pitiful now. It's
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
barely look at them.
Yeah.
But that loss of royalties is big. Interesting to shift back to vinyl now.
Yeah. I
You know,
noticed you have
our
a
last two
vinyl too.
records are on vinyl, and
Yeah.
the downside is now they're taking CDs out of cars. It's like I don't believe the downloaded music is the same. Like people want product,
Yes.
and a product is a statement that you're serious.
Yeah.
And
Well said.
yeah,
Yeah.
and people give you more credibility when you say this is what I built, this is what I've done, here it is, and give it to them in a physical copy.
Yeah.
And you don't get that from Spotify or iTunes.
Yeah, that's about it. No one collects music anymore. Like as far as well, they'll collect old vinyl, but they don't collect, new stuff. Like there's few and far between, I guess, the artists that, oh God, they're getting a new album. I got to make sure I'm there for it, kind of thing. That
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
It just doesn't happen anymore.
Now, my son-in-law, Alex Bird, who's an incredible jazz singer, you should get him on. He's living in
Hmm.
Northern Ontario, incredible
Cool.
artist and the great young jazz band. And so I'm watching what they're doing, and it's very cool. They've released 4 albums in like 4 years. They've done a crazy single with this Venezuelan, I don't know, uh, this Latin American god who's gotten Grammys, and they're mixing it up all the time, like their sound and their recording. They just done a Christmas album, and those guys are making good money from their live gigs. I mean, they're top notch jazz players, but they're online. They're promoting online all the time.
Hmm.
That's one thing, right? You got to promote yourself now, and so some of those online tools really work for artists in a way that just relying on the old press agent from the record label, if he wasn't all that interested in your band, you didn't get all that much.
Yeah, right.
So there's upsides and there's definitely downsides.
Well, let me say in this respect, if you, I mean, you've had a record label and you've had a contract before, would you, and now you're doing a DIY career, am I correct in that
Yeah, yeah.
respect? So would you say if a label came up to you, it would, and they said, "Here, Charlie, we're gonna give the Grievous Angels a nice big fat contract and so on and so forth," and knowing what the 21st century music business is like, would you take it or would you like to just stick to doing what you're doing now?
I think any artist, and this was the way it was back in the day when we started out. We were a little suspicious of contracts because, man, everything that you put in, like what what has to be reimbursed or paid back to the record company was extraordinary. We were always in debt, it seemed. Yeah, we got some rack space, but I think today they're not going to offer you the kind of money that would make it worthwhile. So it'd
No.
have to be a really good deal.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to give up is you don't want to give up your masters. You don't want to give up your control. I've talked to artists who said the record deals wants a cut of our T-shirt sales. It's like,
Yes.
are you kidding me? And that's because the money's just not there. Well, if you're having to give up part of your T-shirt sales to your record label, then maybe you should just learn how to be a business person and do it yourself. And I think a lot of artists are way more on top of their career than people that I knew when we were younger. We were just dumb. We also looked down our nose at the business end of it. We didn't think we should have to do that.
Yeah,
We should have a
exactly.
manager who could do that. So a label might work for certain bands if you're going to go really big, or if a label had something like arts and crafts label. There's a lot of cool people on that. But I think the thing is you just if you're going to do it, you got to learn to promote it. You're going to have to get the look. You're going to have to get your sound, get a good studio to record in, get some good places to play, and be in charge of your own files. And then keep the masters, keep control. And things like Bandcamp allow you to do that. There's you can get your own stuff up. We're distributed online through IDLA. It was kind of a funny story how we ended up with them. They were distributing some of our songs because they didn't know that we actually had the license we owned them. Anyways, we work with IDLA, but you can do it all yourself online too.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
and Bandcamp's pretty good. We've gotten money back regularly from Bandcamp, more than stuff I would have expected.
Yeah. So are you putting your stuff on Spotify, Charlie, or are you letting them you let Daniel Ek make his billion somewhere else?
I'm not all that into Spotify. We're on there. It's a bit of a mix because we were the first Grievous Angels after the Graham Parsons song. Now there's probably about 300 Grievous Angels. So if you check out Grievous Angels on Spotify, we should be up there at the top. But every now and then people call me about a song that they heard, and it's like, yeah, that's not us. That's one of the 10 other Grievous Angels. But it's on
Yeah.
Spotify. Yeah, it's on Apple Music. But our thing is like we promote Bandcamp because it's artist run and we sell our product just like we did in the old days out of the
Yeah.
back of the van at the end of the show.
There you go. Yeah. I do love your ode to the wedding band with the last wedding band. That was awesome. Do you
Well,
come
you're a
from
musician, you probably know that I'm sort of telling the story of all of us. It's like, man, we're the last, like there's no place else. Here we are playing a wedding. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The last wedding band.
and you did that story come about from years of playing weddings, Charlie? Were you there on those wedding stages too, or no?
Well, playing weddings are the weirdest thing, especially when you're a band that's, not, you're not meant to be in a tuxedo. But
Yeah,
the
right.
last wedding band is kind of like, why are we still doing this after all these years? Some nights we're playing at half empty rooms. Some nights nobody's paying attention. Like I said, the boomers want Bob Seger, and everyone's playing on their phones. And like that's the opening line, right? We're the
Yeah,
last wedding band.
yeah.
And why are we doing it? It's because we just love to play. And so we are the last wedding band in the world, we're claiming, but we'll get up because we love the music. And if you love the music, then you'll keep playing. And there's no way to love music more than to play it live. So
Hmm.
that's our ode to survivor musicians.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, it's fantastic. So you've actually decided that you're not going to run again come next election, then, right?
Yeah, well, I've loved the work, and I took a real rock and roll attitude to it. We went for it. We went out full on. But then they're going to change my electoral boundaries and throw an extra 20,000 square kilometers, an extra, I don't know how many hundreds of kilometers of highway, 12 communities I've never been in before, and say now add that to a riding that's already bigger than the UK, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that
Yeah.
because that would suck the rest of my life out. So I want to take time to enjoy my life and play music and do
Yeah.
stuff and
Yeah.
just driving the roads endlessly to be at every Legion Hall meeting and everything. I've done that for 20 years, so I'm figuring time for a change.
Yeah. Good for you. Well,
Yeah.
you mentioned Jack Layton, and I got to meet the man in Sault Ste. Marie once when he was up seeing Tony Martin,
Hmm.
who was me, one of our greatest MPs that we had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do they call Jack Layton? The greatest prime minister we never had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Um, let's talk about voting since we have an election coming up. And Sault Ste. Marie seems to have that mentality that, and you notice I do this because
Yeah.
they think, no, we're not going to vote somebody who's not the party that's going to win because then we won't get nothing. And that was one of the reasons they didn't vote for Tony Martin anymore, is that they wanted to be, part of the ruling party so we can get all these grants and monies and stuff like that. I think that's an awful way to vote, and I mean,
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
make sense.
it doesn't make sense. But it's a mentality it's used definitely by the parties that are wanting to win. Tony Martin was fearless in his work. Um, and I've been in opposition my whole life. And I'll tell you, I can get a lot more out of a minister by going up and saying, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, but we're going to get it done. When you're an MP from Northern Ontario that's on the elected government side, you tend to sit on the back bench and they don't want to hear from you. So, and your job is to suck it up if they give you bad news. I'm not sucking it up. I'm saying, no, I don't like that, and we're gonna fight that. So you need people who are gonna stand up for you. You need people who will make the phone call that nobody else will make. And that's a lot of the work of an elected member is like someone who's got your back. I mean, I don't know how many places we've called into where people were getting screwed over. And when they're like, the member of parliament's calling, what are you talking about? Yeah, they're my people. They're getting screwed over. My
Hmm.
job is to defend the people.
Hmm.
You know, it's not to kiss the ring of the prime minister and send you autographed photos of him. Like,
Yeah.
if that's what you want for an MP, well, then, you know, that someone's just going to mail it in for you. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's my view on politics. They got to be
Yeah.
there to have your back, and
Yeah.
sometimes ruffle political feathers to get things done if it's
Yeah.
about doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, either both my MPP and my MP, I'd never be able to sit down and talk to them about any issue in person because they seem to be too busy just being them, I guess. But a guy like Tony Martin, I had issues. I wondered about tax issues when I had my own business. Tony said, "Come on in, let's talk about it. I'll
Yeah,
see what I
yeah,
can.
no,
I'll see what." And I
that
was like, "What? You're like
yeah,
they're asking me to come and down to your office? I couldn't believe it." Yeah,
yeah, no, that's what I love about the work and the people. You know, my Kirkland Lake office, it's like a drop-in center. People are when I'm there, like people are in there all day just asking about things that they don't know where else to go. And right now, you live in a world where try calling somebody on the phone.
yeah,
Try calling a government service. Good
yeah,
luck. You'll be
yeah,
there 3 days later, and that once you finally get through, they'll put you through, and then your phone goes dead. Right? Our office was always people come in. They sometimes ask me about the craziest thing. I call people back and say, "Okay, I'll look into it," or I'll say, "Well, this is why it is the way it is." A lot of times, people just want to have someone tell them an
yeah,
answer. You
yeah.
know?
Exactly. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
I
always
did.
about giving them what they want to hear. Some people just want to
Yeah,
hear what they want to hear, but other people just want to know that
yeah,
someone cares.
yeah. I didn't want the tax laws changed, but I wanted my MP to be aware of how they were being applied.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't think it was fair, and he didn't either. And maybe things didn't change, but well, maybe I raised some issues kind of thing, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's what it boils
absolutely. Yeah,
down to.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
agree, 100.
yeah.
So, since we're DIY here, Charlie, what are you maybe telling the young ones that are coming up, or even the old ones like me? What's your advice on the on a DIY career in today's music business?
Um, it goes back to the original DIY lessons I learned in punk. You know, DIY punk was yeah, you didn't have to be the best looking person. You didn't have to have a classical music education. You had to have passion. And you have to be honest and true. Like, don't be a fake. The world's got thousands of fakes, you know. If you think that you're going to get a TikTok video that's going to go rampant, yeah, maybe. Chances are no. Um, and work your craft. Be good at it. Um, I mean, our singer, our female singer, left the band on the eve of a national tour where we were Juno nominated for an album with a female singer,
Great.
and I couldn't sing at all, but I knew the lyrics. So the show had to go on. And, you know, I was never the singer in the band. I was never the singer in L'Étranger. Andrew's a much better singer than me. I learned my craft. I learned songs that worked for me. I learned where my voice worked, right?
Uh,
There were songs I would love to do. We don't do them in the band because they don't work for my voice.
yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
knows that they don't work for my voice because we don't do songs that,
Yeah,
do that. So be who you are and focus and get your craft so that it's you and your voice. And if you focus on that, you'll be a lot further ahead than trying to, you know, be a TikTok star.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. That is exactly the attitude that I took on myself completely. Charlie, tell folks where they can find out more about well, I guess your political career for a little while left and your musical career.
Well, the I'm on Facebook. I'm on Blue Sky. I got off X. Man, it was the best thing I ever did. So the Grievous Angels are on Blue Sky. Charlie Angus is on Blue Sky. I'm doing a lot of stuff there. It's great. I'm putting articles up that I think are important, political issues that I think people should want to read, and I always have my music songs of the day.
Yes.
Uh, which I think is a great way to engage. Musically, Grievous Angels band at Bandcamp. I think it's Grievous Angels 2 at Bandcamp. Our 9 albums are up there. I'm just beginning the writing of our next album, or maybe it's going to be an EP. I don't know. But we've got 9 albums that are all we're really super proud of. And as soon as the postal strike ends, we got a bunch of CDs and albums that are going in the mail, but you can download the songs as well.
Gotta love it. Yeah, and I know you always post the pictures of the vinyl that you're listening to, and here I see that great Shangri-La's album sitting there
Man,
behind you.
okay. Young people,
Yeah,
one of the greatest bands that ever walked the planet, the Shangri-Las.
Yes.
I play this record all the time. It's like it's amazing. What a great group. Yeah,
Yeah, those girl groups back then were something else, weren't they?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Charlie, thank you so much for coming on the program. And hopefully we'll maybe see you in Sault Ste. Marie one day, maybe as a Grievous Angel.
We would love the Angels would love to get to Sault Ste. Marie, so we got to find a place where we can play. It's been a while, it's been a long, long, long time since the Angels have been in the Sault, so we'd like to get back.
Well, that might be something we might have to get you in touch with Black Fly Jam and so you can play the loft.
We
And
would love to do that. Yeah. Okay.
I'll send you some info.
Send me the info. Yeah.
All
Okay.
righty. Charlie Angus, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Take care. Thanks, man.
We'll see
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.